Fine, today's lecture we are going in for the unit on construction planning, and in particular we are just going to go for construction planning and collection of field data. The other things in this unit are about labor management and labor welfare. So all those things which are coming, like OSHA is something which is very commonly spoken about in US. Now slowly we are coming to certain benefits which we look for giving to the construction employees or the people, laborers who are employed in construction site. This construction planning, whatever you have seen, is a repeat of all the things which you have come across till now. Whatever we have studied in planning has all been, is all coming back into picture here. So what is a plan? Okay, what is the difference between plan and schedule? It's something which we have been always talking about. So here are some of the definitions of plan. One of the definition by the Oxford Dictionary is it's a formulated and a detailed method to do something. So other dictionaries give help work towards identified objectives. Plans can also consist of a series of plans. There need not be only one plan. Few other plans can come together to help achieve a bigger picture. Okay, in our case, if suppose you are going to construct, say for instance, a swimming pool in another swimming pool in our campus or a stadium, so you will have a lot of coordination being done. Like for instance, the planning for lighting in a stadium, that's a big activity. Another activity is the construction of the gallery, and then you will have to do a lot of special work like turfing and all these things which have to come into the in the ground or the play area. A very big example or a very good example is the stadium which is there near Central Station in Chennai. Okay, it was constructed in a very, very short period of time, and it involved a lot of coordination. The contractor was Larsen and Toubro. So if you go through that, you can have a look at the game plan or the way that stadium has been constructed. One of the very nice things about that is I think it's one of the first few grounds in India where there is shadowless lighting. Okay, so it involved a lot of planning before they could have it done, and it was done under the right. So now, what is plan? I am sure you will all agree that plan is not. It's not just bringing out of a time schedule. Okay, can one of you please tell what is a plan, because we have already done this before. What is a plan? Yeah? Step-by-step approach to reach a target. You fix something, you fix an objective, you are having a step-by-step approach. And in addition to that, one of the things which I personally feel is a plan is like a chess game. Basically, it's a chess game where you have to have a strategy. Okay, I don't know how many of you play chess, but we just start moving all the coins at random, following only the rules of that coin. You are actually planning to have a disaster. You will suddenly find your king is open, nothing is there to protect it. So a plan is not only a step-by-step process. Okay, it doesn't only follow the rules. You will have to have a strategy, which I personally will say is the key to a successful plan. Now, these are some of the components of a plan. In other words, when you are planning, you will have to plan for time. You will have to plan for time. So, other thing is costs. So, basically the time and costs are totally ulta, like they have an inverse relationship. If you are having a very short time, cost is going to be very high. Okay, and other thing is also there. When I say time, it involves like the season when you are doing the work, Okay, when you're planning, you have to see the season at which you're doing the work. Then it's also the time of day when the work is being done. Okay, the metro rail work which is being done in Chennai has most of its work being done at night. So what does it involve? A lot of lighting, a lot of generators, a lot of safety features. You'll have to consider overtime. You'll have to consider giving more tea and snacks to the laborers. Okay, so the time is something which is a very key parameter in determining the strategy what you adopt. Then of course costs, forget that for now. Quality is what will determine the next project which you get. In fact, yesterday's newspaper had a news article that 2 IIT Roorkee professors were arrested. Okay, you saw it? Okay, 2 IIT professors were arrested because of a bridge collapse. I don't know what role they had, but it means that whenever we get a consultancy work, we'll have to look at the quality of the design which goes out. So what would define a quality then? Quality design then? It's not only that all the calculations are right, it has to also serve the purpose correctly. Okay, so quality is a very, very big word. Quality is in fact, if you are going to use such words, quality assurance mechanism, all that in a project, in your final year project, please be very careful. Quality is a very big issue. And what is this health? How does the health of a laborer come into the picture here? If suppose you are providing bad working condition, for example, if suppose a person is to work in a very slushy area, you will be having to provide certain basic things like probably a gumboot. But this health goes a little more or much beyond the term of just protective equipment. There are certain hazardous environments in which people will have to work, and certain works have inherent risks. For instance, if you are going to do an underwater operation, okay, there is a procedure called decompression when you go beyond certain depths. So what is this decompression? If you dive to a very great depth, you should not come up suddenly. If you do it, what happens? But the nitrogen in the blood will start to form bubbles, which will just accumulate in joints. Okay, so what is decompression? When you come up, you will be going into a pressurized chamber, and they'll slowly decrease the pressure in a manner that this nitrogen bubbles will not form. Okay, so this is fact. This is fact. And one of the things which engineers have to know. Another area where decompression is required. Okay, there are pneumatic kaisans where they'll keep a kaisan. What's a kaisan? Whenever you are doing work in river and all that, you will have to keep some, like if you are doing a bridge on the Ganga, you can't say I'm going to wait for the dry season. It's never going to happen. So they'll have a well. Kaisan is a well. So they'll have a well into which they'll pump compressed air. So the kaisan will be at a very high pressure, and water will not be able to seep into the kaisan. So what happens? You are going into a region of high pressure. A scuba diver also goes into a region of high pressure, and then he comes out. Okay, when he goes to great depths in the sea, when he comes up, he is coming to a region of low pressure. Now here also in this pneumatic kaisan, you are pumping in air, and when you come out, you will come to an area of low pressure. So in all these, and one more thing, this is a very painful thing that happens when the bubbles form, and there is no remedy for it. That person will have to live through his lifetime with it. Other things are also there, like handling these explosives, some poisonous chemicals, your admixtures. Many of you are working with nanomaterials. Many of them are very dangerous if you breathe or if it gets into your respiratory system. So all of these come under health and safety. And of course, you will have to again plan for the design. You have to plan for the design properly. Otherwise, a state like what happened to the IIT Roorkee professors could happen to any of us. Then there is also the safety, or like planning for production. What is planning for production? So many of the structural elements are fabricated in a workshop, so you will have to fabricate it in the correct sequence. If you fabricate it in the correct sequence, what happens? You save time and material. How you save time, material, and of course storage. You don't have to store this in the yard, it will not be idle. So as soon as it is brought to the site, if you are erecting, your inventory in the store becomes less. So production also requires a lot of planning. So these are some of the definitions which I came across in various in one of my references what I used. So these are some of the things which people have defined planning as. These are some of the things which people have defined planning as. So actually it is a very challenging mental activity. So that's the second definition which you saw there. And you can just have a look at this slide also. Okay. Now we are just going to go for some of the facets of construction planning. All of these points we have already seen in an earlier lecture. So these things are required for construction, for a construction operation to be successful, for a construction operation to be profitable, and for the entire process to be safe. Okay. So what are the things which will help you plan? What are the things which will help you plan? Basically, the biggest resource or the biggest asset which you can have is experience. Biggest asset which you have is experience. Now this experience, when you do a number of projects, you will come to know where mistakes can take place. So that itself comes into the picture, or that is one of the most important key for a successful plan. So people do make mistakes, people learn from mistakes, people learn from their mistakes, and people also learn from others' mistakes. Now I'm just showing this benefits of planning. I know that this is something which we have already done. So you can just have a look at it. Anyway, now where does planning start? This is something which you can think about. When does planning start? When does a plan actually start? Plan actually starts with the vision statement of your employer. Okay, that is, this I am talking about the top management. So they will have their goals, and they will have the key areas where they will want to have thrust. Okay, so if suppose a organization where you work is seeing that there is a lot of business opportunities in railways, what would be your focus? You will try to get all the jobs which are related to railways and which will help build your portfolio. Okay, so there are some preconditions before you can bid for an railway project. Same thing applies for a airport sort of project. For an airport terminal, you have a lot of preconditions. So what you do, you try to achieve that preconditions. So that is the first thing which which decides whether a company is going to take a project or not. Okay. So sometimes you may take a project even at a loss, so that you come into the pre-qualifying category, so that you pre-qualify for the work. So then we also will have a plan before we take an interest in a particular job. See, some of the companies are known to withhold payment. Some of the companies withhold payment even after the work is done for a very long period of time. So they will say, if you go and work for this particular agency, 10% of your payment is definitely going to be withheld. Sometimes it may be even more. So they will make all these strategic decisions even before they are bidding for the job. And during the pre-bid stage, there is a lot of work which is being done, like how profitable will this be if we take this job. So the place where you do the work, the type of work, and also the period in which you are going to do the work will determine your strategy, because normally all of this will be given in the tender document itself. They'll say this is a 24-month project, this will be tentatively starting on such and such date. So based on that you will be able to do your pre-bid work. And during the bid stage also, what happens in many of the bidding, it will be where they'll make all the players come onto the same platform. They will say this is the technology company A is suggesting, company B is suggesting another technology. Now all of you will have to decide whether you are going to go by what company A is saying or what company B is saying, or you all have to agree that you'll use what we have specified. So like that they'll bring everything to the same platform. So what is favorable for company B may not be agreeable for company A. But all the others will agree on company B's style. So what company A will be forced to do? Company A will have to rethink its strategy and make it in line with what company B has given. So there again there will be a lot of planning going on. Okay. So then so when I say the word planning, think of all the other things which you saw in the previous slide or which we have discussed in the previous lectures. So there is a lot of planning even before the after the award of contract is done. Once you may win, you may lose a contract, because there can be only one successful party in a tender. So why you lost is an important thing which you will think. Okay, probably this is more like a post-mortem, but that post-mortem will be very important to understand why you lost. Is it because the customer favored a particular idea, or is it because you were very costly? If so, why were you costly when compared to the other parties? Or the other party which won. So then you will be putting all of this into your experience. All of this will become your experience, so that the next time you make a bid, you will be more successful, the chances of success increases. So this will indirectly come back into your planning process. It will indirectly come back to your planning process. Yes?
Sir, do we get to know the plan of other companies who put in the bid?
See, the thing is, you will not be able to get it in a formal way. You will not be getting it as an email. Okay, but yes, I'll come. There are two ways. If in a pre-bid conference, there is a chance that other parties' ideas are brought forward. In other words, they will tell this is our idea, and the buyer will say, I will share this with all the parties, so that they come to the same platform, and then the bid will be, then only the price can be same. They call it an apple to apple comparison, because you cannot compare two unrelated items. So under that circumstance, you get to know what the other strategy is. Okay, that is clear. But on the other front, like for example, if for instance you have lost the tender and you know that other party has won, you will have friends in that company with whom you will have a cup of coffee and get the idea. You will not be able to get it officially. Through official channels, this is not possible. So if you are in any company, you will have friends in all the other companies who will help you or who will give you informal information. So this is one of the things why we have to have very good interpersonal relationship. Without naming the person, I will tell you. See, when we go for a tender meeting, there was one gentleman, a very senior business manager. What he'll do, he'll just take the other person. Both of them will go under the tree and have a smoke. We don't know what they are talking. Okay, and since they are having a smoke, nobody will go and interfere. Of course, we all tell about no smoking, but this was his strategy. So you can devise your own strategy to cultivate such relationships. Anyway, thank you for the question. I hope it helps you think a little about how you can get the work done. The other things are quite straightforward. See, before receipt of LOI, what is LOI? Letter of intent. So the buyer will have to issue a letter stating you may have won the tender, but till you get the order, you cannot do any work. So the moment you receive the LOI, you will have to start thinking of procurement. You will have to think from whom you are going to do the procurement. How is it going to come? Is it an imported item, or is it just a long lead item? So all those things will come into the picture. And after you receive the work order, your day 0 starts. From that day, construction work is reckoned, or the site is reckoned to have been given to you. So if there is any delay, you will have to give an explanation. And during construction, I don't have to explain. Close out, you will have to make a lot of plans, and you will have to have a strategy to go and prove to your buyer that you have finished the job. It's a very difficult thing, and I have seen many people suffer 6 months, 8 months and all that after the work has officially got completed. Your boss says work is completed, but the person who's purchasing, he will say work is not over. You will have to explain to your boss why you are still having a site establishment, and it's very tough. Now, these are some of the practical things which you will have to look for if you are going for a site visit. Okay. So first and foremost, you will have to know where the site is, how you can access it, whether there are roads, whether there are kacha roads. Sometimes there are no roads also. Okay, so that is something you will have to know. This will make a lot of things happen. Like for example, if you bring a very huge transformer, will your truck be able to come? You should know. Otherwise, are you going to make a new road? All those things come under that one. So topography factors are also very important. Whether there is going to be, in fact, I think I got it repeated as drainage. So how you are going to work out the drainage? How are you going to think of the leveling of the entire plant comes under this. Whether you are going to have 2 or 3. Sometimes, if you are going to go for a mining project, you will find that it's on a mountain. So on a mountain, you will have to make benches or platforms. It will be a huge platform, so it will be on different levels. So all these come under the topography factors. In certain projects, you will be asked to provide a power supply also. So you will have to tap the current from some source. So from where are you going to source your power, and whether that source is going to be a viable source. So many things are to be thought of. Maybe that's not from your civil side, but what will be your role? Your role will be in determining the best route to bring that power line to the site. And then there is also water, construction water, whether you have enough water, whether you have to sink bore wells, whether your buyer is going to give you the water. So all these things are very important, because you may have everything, but if you don't have water, you will find that you are in big trouble. So in fact, CPWD, if you look at their works manual, they allocate a 1% provision for water. Any point? I mean, like anything you'd like to share? Yeah, you. Great. So another thing is the availability of local labor. Okay, is local labor costly or is local labor cheaper? If you get labor from the same area, is it cheaper or is it costlier? Depends on the, yeah, who told that? That was an excellent thing. Depends on the place where you are working. Depends on the place where you are working. In Tamil Nadu, many of the laborers are coming from Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Bihar. Okay, so this is the place where we source our labor. Because if you look at the local people, they'll immediately start forming a union. They'll have their own lot of things which you will have to manage. So you'll find that it's cheaper to establish a labor camp. It's cheaper to establish a labor camp. So what are the things that you will have to think of in a labor camp? One, of course, space. Second thing is you will have to ensure that you have a water supply, and then you will also have to look at the sanitation facility and the kitchen. Okay, whether you will ask the laborers to cook or whether you will cook and give them. See, sometimes it's cheaper. You can make them work for longer hours and give them food. That solves your problem. They are also happy, and your productivity will increase because they are a happy lot who are willing to work for you. So this is something about the labor camp and facilities. One of the biggest challenges is sourcing materials like coarse aggregate, fine aggregate, then fill material. Okay, so I was talking about this topography factor. Sometimes you'll have to fill the land. You'll have to make a lot of filling. So whether if you are having a local material which is suitable, that is the technical specification will say that the fill material should satisfy a lot of criteria. So if you are having that fill material, then your problem is solved. Otherwise, if you are going to have it as a long lead item, in this one, lead is the distance to which you are going to transport material. Okay, so if it is if the lead is very huge, your costs are also going to be very high. So these are all things which you can look for on the at the construction site. Another very important thing is special permissions. We need lot of permissions from forest officials, and sometimes you need environmental clearance also. So although the environmental clearance is the responsibility of the owner, they will say, as a contractor you get it for us, whatever is the charges will be borne by the owner. So if suppose, and you will also be paid for that service which you are doing. So you will have to find out whether any special permissions are required. And in some places you have restriction on activities like blasting. So you should find that also out much in advance before you start to bid for the job. So today we just had a overview about what are the things that we can look for in construction planning. Many of these things are plans before the start of the job, but they are very relevant even for the time when the job is being done. Okay, so if you have any questions, you please feel free to ask. When you ask questions, you